I drank a whole fucking glass of mostly liquor.
Thanks for being here.
You're the one that's got to cut this. I'm trying to save you. You have to make this an episode.
If you would shut up, I would say, thanks. Tell me where everyone can find you.
We did that already. We did that an hour ago.
I'm going to that didn't happen. In the magic of editing, that never happened. This is now what's happening now.
Just use the thing
Just cut in the other one.
Lindsay, this is every time with him.
She knows. Like
I'm well aware.
The Running Man is a 1987 American dystopian action film directed by Paul Michael Glazer, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Maria Conchita Alonso, Yaphet Kotto, and Richard Dawson.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Running Man. He's playing for a prize. The prize is his life.
How about the lights?
The Running Man.
Welcome back to the Cult of Films. I'm John, the host, and tonight, playing the part of the runner, we have the Lindsay Washburn.
Hey, I am so excited to talk about this movie.
And playing the part of the stalker, fictionally and actually, is Jason Holt.
Hey, Christmas tree.
On high demand, ladies and gentlemen, we are finally talking about The Running Man. This has been one of the most requested films that we talk about by the 3 fans that we have of the show. So I'm so happy to finally give Silas what he wants. So we are going to talk about a Richard Bachman.
Oh, it's Silas who asked for this? Well, shit. Now we got to do a good job.
Yeah, we have talked about a lot of Stephen King adaptations, and I'm just gonna say
this was Richard Bachman, not Stephen King. Okay,
this is the first best Richard Bachman adaptation. Can you name?
Did they do another one?
They did.
Stand by Me.
No, that was Stephen King.
Yep.
Was it under Stephen King?
Yes. Stand by Me was from the book Different Seasons that they made 3 of the 4 stories in the movie. It was
that's right.
Shawshank Redemption, Stand by Me, and At Pupil.
At Pupil.
Oh yeah.
And The Body.
With David Schwimmer.
Yeah, Thinner was the other Bachman adaptation, which is
that's right. I forgot about Thinner.
That shit crazy movie.
I love that movie.
We should probably talk about it at some point.
Yeah.
So fucking zany.
The dude looks so hilarious in that fat suit. Something out of a Primus music video. God, Thinner was awesome.
So good.
But stop me if you heard this one before. A bodybuilder, a pro wrestler, and a game show host walk into a movie.
Fucking amazing.
And Dweezil Zappa and Mick Fleetwood are there. And also football legend Jim Brown. So this cast was lit, dude.
Lit.
It was so fucking... You had 4 people from the Predator franchise. You have Arnold. You have Fennel Thorson. You have Jesse Ventura and Maria Conchita Alonso, who was in the second Predator.
Yeah, and Toru Tanaka, who's like done just a ton of cool shit. Last Action Hero, Darkman. Yeah, man, this cast ruled.
She was in my mind most famously from Vampire's Kiss, where Nick Cage is just like screaming at her in the office.
There you are.
This is also, I mean, how could we be remiss not to say this is directed by Starsky.
Starsky, what the fuck? Starsky from Starsky and Hutch. Holy shit.
Just crazy. And the origin of the reason why this even got made, it's similar to The Warriors, where the original screenplay writer found this novel just at a airport gift shop, and he's just like looking at it, and no one at this point, the secret was still solidified that no one knew that Richard Bachman and Stephen King were the same person. So he's just like, he's reading this and he's just like, I want to buy the rights to this movie. So he decided to, and he got in contact with the proper channels, And they're like $100,000. It's like, why? This is like a
because Stephen King would sell it to you for $1, but
Right.
this isn't Stephen King.
Yeah.
This is Richard That was his money-making scheme. Have you read the original 4 Bachman books? They are all really strong.
Yes.
I started reading
Blaze.
It's the story about the school of the
Rage.
teacher and the yes, I started reading that. I'm about halfway through it, but yeah,
He said he doesn't love that because every time there's a school shooting, he's like, "Did I do this?" And it's like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. No, you live in America, and it's just gonna happen anyway.
Yeah, it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah.
You didn't give anybody the idea. Marilyn Manson's
No.
music in the GoldenEye video game from 1996 is what.
That's
gave
what
people the
did it.
idea to do Columbine. So
Tell me you
you're
don't
off
wanna-
the hook, Stephen King. Dylan Klebold wasn't a big reader. You're lucky they didn't find a fucking copy of Cujo in his locker, or you'd be screwed.
Tell me you wouldn't want to see a Regulators adaptation though. That
I
fucking
want to
book.
see The Long Walk.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't read The Long Walk, it's basically a contest where they have 100 people and they just walk. And if you go below 4 miles an hour 3 times, you get shot. And the last person alive wins whatever they want. It's not even money. It's just like you get to ask for a wish. And one of the guys is like, I want him to admit he's my dad. Like the president of the like whatever weird dystopian America makes kids do this.
God.
He's like, if I win, my prize will be to admit he's my dad. I'm like, you should probably ask for $10 million though instead. Right?
Essentially, there's no reason why this should have worked because, again, Starsky directed it, and
This is nothing like the book. The book
It's so
kinda
different.
sucks.
It's
Kinda
so
sucks.
different.
It's so in the. I don't want to give anything away about this movie per se, but in the book, it's basically a nationwide thing where you just run, and everyone in America is trying to capture you for a bounty. You have to mail in videotapes every day, so you can't just go hide somewhere in a swamp. You have to mail in a videotape of yourself saying, "Hey, I'm the Running Man contestant. This is today's day." Blah blah blah. There's like hover cars in it. Like
It's the most dangerous game with like paparazzi.
the guy
I feel.
flies a plane into the studio.
Yeah, this is nothing like any of that.
Mm-mm.
But
It's
it
yeah,
works.
the story. This I don't know. It's the weakest of the original 4 Bachman books, but at the same time, like, it's not a. As far as early King goes, it wasn't bad. It was a little fantastical. They actually toned it down a little for this movie, if you can believe that.
Yeah, there was that one scene where it was like the Suicide Squad thing with the thing around his neck, and the guy tried to run away and his head blew up. Glazer said that they had a way better shot because they were really happy with that prosthetic. And they had a really tight shot of the guy's head splitting open, but the MPAA made him take it down, or else it would have been an X rating for that.
For a head exploding.
For a head exploding.
Nolan
Then you
and
think about the
Globus have a
boys.
head exploding ever, but if you do a good job, if it's not clearly a watermelon encased in latex, like it's got to be a hard X. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But was Scanners rated X? Like
I don't
it's so
know. It
silly
was
to me,
not.
right?
That
No.
had one of the best head explosions of all time.
It's an iconic head explosion.
Oh my
for
right.
god.
Maybe no one cared because everyone thought, or everyone kind of knew what to expect with Cronenberg, and this was
Well, this was mainstream.
Yeah.
Blockbuster movie. Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this movie. It came out the same fucking year as Predator.
Yeah.
Huge fucking movie.
This was Schwarzenegger at his peak, and this is what he
Yes.
chose to make.
I love it.
What a year.
Love it.
Yeah.
When I found out about this movie in 1992, someone described it to me, and I thought they were fucking with me. His name is Sub-Zero? Like
Right.
in Mortal Kombat?
Professor Sub-Zero.
Sub-Zero.
Oh my god.
I knew he was your favorite because he was the hockey player.
How do you know I just don't love sumo? Toru Tanaka rules, man. Oh, sorry, Professor Toru Tanaka.
Professor.
Yes, Professor George Tanaka. Let's talk about the premise. Lindsay,
Yeah.
what's the Running Man about?
Running Man is set in a futuristic world of, is it 1997?
Yeah.
2017.
2017.
2017. Okay.
Yeah.
So
2017.
you know what? It's actually a little bit believable that
It
some of the
is.
They were looking 30 years into the future, and they didn't realize that we would all be super lazy. We would get the internet and just like look at porn and not design a flying car.
Yeah.
We're sorry, 1987 buds.
But they were on the right track with some stuff. You know, with some stuff with the media and how it's injected into fucking everything and
obsessed with violence,
fucking product.
13-inch television screens.
Yes.
I love that. It's like in the future, people will have a whole bank of 13-inch television screens in their home. They'll have 5 tiny televisions. It's like, I have a 72-inch TV. What are you talking about?
But no, the future is controlled by this mega corporation. It's not controlled by the government is this corporation.
Right.
And they tell you what to watch, what to eat, what to drink, what music you can listen to. Everything is a product of theirs. You can't come up with your own shit. Everything is owned by this company. It's like Disney, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
it opens up. You're like 5 years too early to say Disney owns all media.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. They're very close.
And we're gonna cheer, like, thank for taking Spider-Man from Sony as they like close another independent studio. Disney's executing A24 in an alley, and we're like, thank God we don't have a Morbius sequel.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, the movie cold opens with basically Arnold's character flying in to exterminate a peaceful protest because the kids are hungry.
Food. There's no food.
Yeah.
Give these people air. What? I mean, food. Give them food. That was a bad Arnold on purpose, but I wonder if people will think I don't know how to do it. Whatever. I don't have to impress you. You cooked on the video. I got your click already, idiot.
So I'm going to give the audience what I think they want.
Did this movie pioneer the "I'll see you in hell" with someone hitting, knocking you out POV style with the butt of a gun?
And I'll see you in hell.
I think the first "I'll see you in hell" was probably Empire Strikes Back, right?
Your tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker. Then I'll see you in hell.
Which was so rude. He's like, hey, your tauntaun will freeze out there. And he's like, well, I'll see you in hell. It's like, what? No, just bundle up. Where are you going? Why you gotta be mean about it? That guy's such a dick. He gets to be a general because he owns his own ship. Fuck that guy. I've been here for 11 months on fucking Hoth. My balls are frozen to my leg, and this guy shows up. He's like, I think you mean General Solo.
Then I'll see you in hell.
Who's our main character?
It's Richard Kimball,
I didn't kill my wife.
played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
No,
he was
Ben Richards.
Richard Kimball.
Who's Richard
Kimball was what is that?
Is
Kindergarten Cop?
Harrison Ford, or no, I don't know. I'm mixing up everybody's names now.
Richard Kimball was the fugitive.
The Fugitive. It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man.
All this so you could have Provasic.
Ben Richards. Ben Richards, not Richard Kimball. Ben Richards. And he was a cop, and then he gets framed for this fucking massacre, and they send him to prison. And with his two buddies, Yaphet Kotto and the other guy. The other guy.
Marvin J. McIntyre, who you will recognize from such films as Back to the Future 3 and Short Circuit.
Oh.
They escape, and his two friends are more like revolutionaries. They actually care. He's all about survival. He says that in the beginning. I'm not into politics. I'm into survival.
You can still join us if you want.
No, thank you. My brother is gonna get me out of the city. Plus, I'm not into politics. I'm into survival.
There's a show called The Running Man, which everybody watches. It's like the cultural event that everybody watches and everybody knows and cheers
It's the new
on.
NFL.
It's the new NFL.
Yeah.
And it's hosted by Richard Dawson.
Oh my God, so
He's
good.
so good at this.
Just
movie.
so
And
good.
he's
We
playing
can talk
it.
Because
2
he's
hours
such an
about him.
evil piece of shit.
Dear, let's reunite these little birds.
Yeah.
But
And
he-
you cannot imagine a sweeter person who kisses old ladies on the cheek on
Right?
game shows. Just
Right?
and he played such a fucking monster in this movie, and
Yeah.
he
Nailed it.
seemed like he loved it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because he gets to play Richard Dawson like 25% of the time when he's playing to the crowd. So it's like a perversion of things that people know about him. So that's what made it.
Yeah,
so
he's like, I woke up in this dystopian universe. It turns out I have no values. I'm a complete monster, but I'm still Richard fucking Dawson.
Right.
Goddamn professional. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna give out a couple of copies of the Running Man home game.
Edition. Oh my god. Every time it's like, how does I want to play that game?
The Running Man board game. You just like smash your kid in the hand with a hammer for rolling a 6.
Sorry, Daddy's Dynamo.
Stick your hand in the freezer for 5 minutes. This game sucks.
He gets chosen to be a contestant. Ben Richards does, because they need ratings. They're tired of It's so funny. I laugh so much at this movie. They're going through like all the mug shots, and one of them is a fucking baby.
Yeah, yeah. It's so quick too. It's blink and you miss it.
Yeah,
but it's such a good gag.
The one thing I like better about the book is the book had a ton of game shows. It wasn't just the Running Man. It was a bunch of like future dystopia / like 10 years ago in Japan type game shows where people with bad hearts ran on treadmills for dollars and shit like that.
Right.
We do get climbing for dollars in this
Ninja
movie.
Warrior type
Yeah, they
shit,
showed a little bit of that, but like in the book there was like a ton of those, and that was all TV. All TV was people dying, poor people who needed money, risking their lives so their like surviving family could have money.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
We get a little bit of that.
Dystopian.
We get a little bit of that today. I mean, no one's life is in danger, but they're putting their bodies at risk to be the best and to win.
And then you get made fun of by John Cena and the chick from Nailed It. That's the worst part.
Oh my gosh.
Fudge and mustard.
Yep. I hope people start saying that instead of profanity. Oh, fudge and mustard.
It's like, it's fine. You landed in water as your like neck spins around 120 degrees after you like get hit in the face with a giant spring-loaded boxing glove.
It's the ouch my balls or whatever from
honestly, you barely have to modify Whiplash
to
make it Running Man.
Yeah. You just need, well, I mean, because this film spawned American Gladiators, which is essentially the Running Man, except no one's dying.
But it wasn't ironic. They're like,
it was.
What if we shot him with a tennis ball cannon instead of a real gun? It's like, well, holy shit! Then USA is gonna have to figure out what they're gonna do.
Right, and you had the Gladiators and all their awesome names like Zap and Nitro, and they're all just roided out.
Yeah, just peak America.
Oh,
sure.
It was so good.
Yeah, everyone's a snowflake now. Nobody wants to do steroids their whole life and say their name is Blazer because they showed up and like, I'm gonna be Laser, and they're like, there's already a Laser. It's like, well, fuck, I'm Blazer. Nobody's got the balls to do that no more. Bunch of snowflakes.
So that's a question for you because you seem to remember the book quite a bit. Were the gladiators as
there were no gladiators?
There were no gladiators.
It was just people.
Everybody was in on it.
Oh, okay.
The game field was America, and anybody who caught you got a cash prize. So it was basically like you're America's Most Wanted, the home game.
It's more like Escape from New York then, but it was like
escape
from the US.
There's no escape. Where are you going to go?
You're just
Everyone
fucked.
in America is trying to capture you. It's hide and seek where they kill you.
So they accidentally made one of the most memorable things about this movie for this movie. Then they punched it up and they added these crazy comic book villains, and that
but they were the heroes. They were the heroes to the crowd.
Well, that's the heroes. Yeah.
Leon, I don't know. I think maybe Dynamo, but Buzzsaw was last year's champion. I can't decide.
Yeah.
Yes.
But they're I mean, as you kind of find out in the movie, he is seen as a commodity from Richard Dawson, he extends that financial olive branch because there is no winners in the running game, probably just like the book. So I assume that the stalkers are all these crazy killers that maybe were runners before that they turned stalker. I don't know. It's just it's probably the one of the coolest parts though, because that's what this movie's just so, it's like a fucking fever dream. It's not realistic at all, but it speaks so much truth where it's like super scary. Like everything's a caricature of
This film has zero subtlety.
No,
and that's what I love about it. Because I mean, it takes those Verhoeven-esque social satire things, but there's no subtlety about it whatsoever. Because like they're walking around the studio and you see posters for other shows like Pain, American Style, or the Hate Boat, things like that. Fully buy into this world. It's damn near seamless the way that they do it, and it's done so well. There's really only.
How much better are we that we like want our heroes to die in 25 years of like CTE from like playing football?
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to see the guy die in the field. I want him to like,
instant
die
gratification
20 years later.
This is the fast food version of the NFL.
Well, because I mean, there's so many sports that we have and like spectator events where that element of danger, where someone could get just mangled and critically injured or killed.
And that's the hook.
And that's the hook.
Clock is brought to you by Modelo.
It's not expressly out there, but it's always underneath the surface, and that draws so many people like, oh shit, someone could die, someone could get hurt, mangled, something bad could happen. People go to hockey, there could be a fight. They go to NASCAR, there could be a crash. You're always waiting for that thing to happen, but it's like a subconscious thing. It's always lying there underneath the surface.
And this is guaranteed. This
is guaranteed. This brings everything to the forefront.
Yeah. This is if Trump wins a second term, like we're gonna have the Running Man.
There's an appetite for it. You can't pretend that people watching MMA don't want to see somebody's like head get completely punched off their neck.
You watch the crowd, you watch the commentators during those, and they're freaking out like the crowd in this movie.
I watch MMA for 3 hours and I'm into it. I'm like, I want to go get in a bar fight. So the only reason people aren't watching Running Man is because like nobody has made it.
True.
But we can't pretend that with like today's society, people wouldn't watch a show like that. They would.
Oh, definitely would. There is no innocent until proven guilty in this country, because you're guilty in the public eye right away. Group mentality or just mob mentality can whip up into a frenzy where you could see something like this happening. It could. There's steps there that it could legitimately lead to something like this.
And it seems uniquely American to sex it up the way this is sexed up.
The dancers. Oh my God, I wanted to be that one bitch with the ponytail. I wanted to be her so bad when I was little.
Because that's what we do. You take any concept and he's like, what would America do with this? Well, they would make it the Super Bowl halftime show every Sunday night.
Sex and violence. And violence.
And you mentioned Verhoeven. I think this is like a perfect marriage of like good early Ridley Scott and Verhoeven, which is crazy to think of who is behind this. This guy did the air up there. Like this guy had no business making a movie this good, but he accidentally did.
But it is such an oddity, and I think some people kind of push it again to that B-movie bin. But because I mean, it's got that cheesy over the topness about it, and it does this weird thing where I doubt it's on purpose, where again it's doing to its audience what the game show is doing to that audience, because you got this big jacked up dude and he's the hero and he's gonna go in and save the day and get the girl and all this stuff, and it's just such a weird dichotomy between those two things where you're like, did they do this on purpose, or am I just reading too much into it?
But even the stuff outside the game too, I think the filmmaker had an idea of those kind of commentaries anyways. Like Arnold is very like, this is the most fuckable Arnold's ever been. Like he's in skin tight everything, and he's in like a Gold's Gym shirt. We get introduced to the woman in like this weird workout fantasy of like how a man like would imagine a woman how they work out in like, you know, skimpy underwear.
A little teddy.
Yeah, it's just like, it's so.
Hey John, I hate to every woman wore that exact outfit to go jazzercise in 1987.
I missed the
leg warmers, the spandex. you had a thigh master or a bun master, or you were
everything was hip thrusts.
Yeah,
just over and over.
Because that was Jane
again.
Fonda.
Yeah,
she's like
Diane Summers. Yeah,
Vietnam changed me, so now I'm going to come back and teach women how to fucking tighten their core by simulating pelvic thrusts to keep her man interested.
Yeah,
Oh
but I mean, from beginning to end, we're getting those Verhoeven type, commercials like from RoboCop.
I'd buy that for $1.
And it's not just in the zone; it's outside. And like you guys said, it beats you over the head with the symbolism. Like the Dynamo character, he's a fat white guy in a diaper. It's just like he's a fucking light bulb baby. Like, you have Fireball, who is just this overly brutal, black man in the early in the late 80s. It's all these like,
and it was Jim Brown too. I love that. I love that. They picked
perfect
some
people. The perfect
that
people.
like you buy Fireball immediately because Jim Brown just has kind of this swagger.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
he seems annoyed. Yeah.
We talk about the similarities between this and the NFL. Who better?
Fuck, right?
Than just an unstoppable force of nature on the field like Jim Brown.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Well,
what casting?
Because you got those parallels to football, but also to pro wrestling. Because I mean,
Sure.
you've got Jesse the Body, and the guy who plays Buzzsaw was fucking incredible.
Oh my god.
Richard, I love the saw. The saw's part of me. And I'm gonna make it part of you.
Just this
Gus,
huge fucking dude, and he's just this thick neck, and his eyes are bulging out, and he's. I love that scene where he's like, "This saw's a part of me, and I'm gonna make it part of you." I just
Yeah.
They are just one-dimensional characters, but they have so much panache and style and personality.
That
built
guy
into
did
them.
6 movies, and it's a fucking shame. He hasn't worked since Scorpion King in 2002.
Damn.
Oh no.
He was in Twins.
Oh god.
He was in a movie called A Fist Fighter. That guy was awesome. Gus Retzwish. Yeah, I wouldn't.
But he's holding up the fucking motorcycle when he's going into the building. Just
yeah, he looks like the dude in Over the Top who chugged motor oil before he arm wrestled. That's who he reminds me of. Like, you need that guy in movies, if only to be like, remember when this was a type.
Yeah, he's terrifying. And all the boss fights had boss levels too.
Yes.
This was a fucking Mega Man game. Like the hockey guy had this
hockey arena.
And
trapped the guy.
Yeah, he traps him in the goal. And
that was the most jacked up. Have you ever tried to
here we go.
run on ice wearing shoes?
Oof.
It's not easy.
No.
He had skates. Arnie had shoes. It's profoundly unfair.
The one guy had a
anyone
motorcycle
who makes it
and
to
2
Sub-Zero should
different
die.
chainsaws. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
That was the most dangerous. Okay, so I own the DVD of Running Man because of course I do.
Sure.
There's like 90 minutes of movie on the 2-disc set, and there is like maybe 7 hours of special features. I watched it all. And apparently all the chainsaw motorcycle shit was like the most dangerous stuff, which makes sense.
I
would have thought it was that or pyrotechnics.
That's true.
Yeah.
Apparently the dune buggy going up the hill flipped over and like almost took out the scaffolding the cameras were on. Like, the movie was fraught. It was not safe. And I think that's awesome. Starsky just watching like a dune buggy blow up with a dude still trapped inside and just like, woo!
He was literally hired because he was known around Hollywood as a yes man to producers. Like, he was just like, I'm going to do whatever you guys want me to do. You had Arnold's guy, Steven D'Souza. He came in, and so there was 3 different scripts for this, or 3 different drafts. Yeah. And there weren't just 3 different drafts, but they shot 3 different deals. Like, they had different cuts of this, and they kept showing them to test audiences. And what have we learned about test audiences? They're not the best idea, but they kept shooting it down. Everyone kept shitting on this movie, but the one that worked was the one that D'Souza went in and added all the Arnold quips.
Now, where should we go? Maybe someplace warm. I need to work on my tan anyway. Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero! You can't live with them, and you can't live without them. But I hope you leave enough room for my fist, because I'm going to ram it into your stomach and break your goddamn spine! Ah! Fuck you.
And that is a very polarizing part of this film, because it is a horror movie, I think. It's a horror action movie. It's brutal.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, you know, it is super brutal. It's as brutal as a Verhoeven film. But Arnold has those little jabs like it's a fucking, like it's Anchorman. Like everything.
Oh yeah, he's putting on a show. He's putting on a show, you know.
Because he's like, oh, you want to see a show? Fuck you, here's your show.
Right.
I just choked out Sub-Zero.
Now Planes. So stupid, but I love
literally everything though is he doesn't like, he maybe has 20 straight lines of him just like interacting with people. The rest is just like you know, they're running for their lives, and she's just like, oh, I had a great outfit for Hawaii. He's like, yeah, I did too until you fucked it up. You know, it's just like everything is a fucking joke. And
yeah, this is peak. They're satirizing Arnold as much as they're satirizing anything else.
Very true. Very
but
true.
Also, he didn't give a shit. He was super into it.
And before it was cool too.
And also, Starsky was like the 5th director attached to this project.
Right.
They just could not get it made. And finally, they're like, somebody else shot a lot of this movie. Can you come in and finish it? And for a movie that was spliced together with multiple different directors, this hung
put together pretty well.
Yeah.
Yes. And that disorganized and that many cooks in the kitchen, so many chiefs, no Indians at all, and they still managed to mash together this like really good film that like holds up. Yeah, it's very polarizing because tonally it's so schizophrenic. Is this a comedy? Is this a horror? But is it a sci-fi? It's everything.
But nobody says that when Verhoeven made Starship Troopers. No one's like, is this a comedy or is it boobs? It's like, it's Verhoeven.
Well, because only 2% of people actually got the point, though. It's like the Fight Club deal.
I think, man, I don't know. I'm not saying people were more sophisticated in 1987. I'm saying this movie wasn't subtle.
Well, I'm also saying that this film only made $38 million against its $27 million budget. This was considered a bomb.
Yeah, another reason is they didn't market this movie well. They had no idea how to market it. I mean, they did a teaser trailer or two that just didn't work well. It's like, how do you market a film like this? I mean, you put Arnold in the forefront, but then there's all this futuristic stuff, and it's a game show, and it's like, how do you sell this movie to people?
And the trailers were very straight too. It was very Escape from New York.
Yeah.
Well, and also like they had no source material. This was just, they pulled a movie out of their ass, frankly.
Yeah. No,
they really did, because like it's like,
you're right.
You know what they kept from The Running Man? The fact that there was a man and he ran.
The name only.
No, it was like a game show.
Casey, you say that, but I remember watching commentary. They were writing during shooting. They did not have an idea of how this was going to work.
But like, honestly, the movie just needed to be bookended by competent writing. You don't need someone who knows how to write for 80% of this movie. You need a good beginning where you establish why anybody is in a murder maze, right? Then you need an ending. It's like, how do they get out of the murder maze? But the 80% that's murder maze, it doesn't matter. You just go to a new area and fight a new big bad.
But they also sprinkle in the behind the scenes stuff of producing the show, which is stuff that I really loved. And I think most people, a lot of people focus on just the action, but there's so many great scenes between Richard Dawson and the producer where he's like, roll camera, and he interrupt. There's so much great dialogue in there that sometimes it's like spoken in the background and you just hear pieces of it, and it's just fucking hilarious.
Huh? I know a stalker died. Well, it had to happen sooner or later.
Because you live in a world where a guy gets up, packs a lunch, drives 25 minutes in traffic, listening to AM radio to get to his job where he cuts together footage of a guy getting his dick cut off with a chainsaw. And that's just so funny to me that the guy's so bored to be working his boring ass key grip job. Setting up lights so you can properly get the glinting off of, a guy named Dynamo.
Yeah.
Electrocuting somebody in a puddle.
Yes. Yes.
So many people have to do so many bullshit jobs for $14 an hour to produce the murder show. And
they
just
depict that
so
perfectly.
funny.
So great, because they've got the behind the scenes. They've got like the control room, which they spend a lot of time in. Then you've got people who write
with
music.
Kurt Fuller, who is always the best number two in
so
everything.
Good.
Kurt
so
and
good.
this is Kurt Fuller has worked with not only Arnie but also Sven Ole Thorsen.
Oh, you mean LaFleur's from Mallrats?
From Mallrats, yeah. He was in a movie called Abraxas, Guardians of the Universe with Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
Did we do an episode?
I think we're the only 3 people who have DVD copies of Abraxas.
No, I thought we did an episode on Abraxas. Maybe
we
not.
should if we haven't. Too bad
shit.
the movie sucks. The only good thing about the movie is that Jesse Ventura and Sven Ole Thorsen are both in it. Yeah.
But there's so much more stuff. Like they run through pretty much all their stalkers, and they bring Captain Freedom out of retirement.
Oh, so
Page to wardrobe, and he's got this stupid chintzy metal shit on him, and he's like, I don't need.
But he's
this
so
shit.
mad about it.
He's like, I'm gonna get killed.
I don't need this crap. This stuff is garbage. I was killing guys like this 10 years ago with my bare hands.
I don't need these gimmicks. I was killing guys like this with my bare hands.
Yeah.
And it's just so fucking funny.
It's like asking Troy Aikman to go down from the commentator booth to go, start for the Broncos or something. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing? And I love the fact that, and that was always kind
Why
of
would Troy Aikman play for the Broncos though? Didn't the Cowboys beat the Broncos in the Super Bowl? With Troy
Whatever.
Aikman? I don't know, man. I'm gonna stop and.
But even,
Troy Aikman played for the Cowboys
more times in the last episode than I have in the last year. I don't know shit about football. I know Jim Brown was good, and I know that because of Drew Carey.
Hey, this has hockey in it. It's baked in for a Jason Alt commentary.
But there's so much, because those scenes almost sound like a wrestler from the 70s bitching about a wrestler from the late 90s. How they didn't need all this the pyrotechnics and the theme songs and all this crazy shit. They just went in there and they were physical and did their thing. It works so well, just the satire and how just blunt and stupid it is sometimes.
Yeah, and even the most antiquated parts of it are the parts that make it so charming on a rewatch in 2022. Like the entire idea that it was a new technology that they like rotoscoped or whatever, like tracking shotted.
Oh yes,
they created that.
It's a deep fake.
Right.
It's deep fakes.
Yeah,
exactly. That was like, oh my God, that was mind-blowing back in 1987. They're like, this is never gonna happen. And
but I was
like, I can do that on my
so
phone.
mad. I watched this movie in like 93 probably. That was when I heard about it. I 93, that seemed whatever. I was so mad by the whole, when they changed it to like to make it look like he really did masterminded the helicopter massacre. I was so mad about that, and that was 1980. I mean, it was like, oh, this is 2017. That was 1987 technology where they did that. And I was like, if they can do this in a movie, what's to stop from doing it in real life?
Yeah.
And now we're faced with like deep fakes and stuff like that. And it turns out you don't need to bother with deep fakes because like people are so entrenched in their political position, it doesn't matter.
No.
Like no one accused that Donald Trump, Billy Bush tape of being faked. No one even went there. They're just like, yeah, that's real and we don't care. So like, it's so funny that like, as much as deep fakes are a thing, it's not, who's gonna bother deep faking some political candidate saying something weird when just like
when nobody cares.
They just
it
own
doesn't
the
matter.
terrible shit they say.
It's
and
not
maybe
even close
that's
to the
most
line.
dystopian thing
Yeah.
where we have the technology to do these deep fakes flawlessly in real time, and it doesn't matter.
We don't have to.
You don't even have to. We're a worse population of people in 2017 than the fucking people in this movie watching The Running Man every week.
The crowd reaction shots in this movie are fucking amazing, because we get 3 different types. We have the studio crowd, then we have like the mid-level that are hanging out like in the bar area or in the dressing room area, and then we get the super rich that are watching it on TV. Like they're just standing there watching the TV as like people are being shot and
there's the people outdoors
That's
for
true.
whatever reason, like
betting.
The betting, yeah.
So there was like 4 different crowds. That's a good observation.
But
so that just shows the hierarchy of the society within those crowd structures.
And everybody was about it. This is okay. I'm bringing in shit from the book. The book, it was exclusively poor people who just like, I don't have any money, so I have to do this. You know.
So it was like Squid Game type shit.
And what was missing from the book was the poor people like betting on it and like being like, well, I can't improve society, but I can improve my lot in the society. And that was some commentary the movie brought in. And I think for a movie that lacks subtlety, I thought that was a little bit subtle. When you're like, aren't you mad that poor people are forced to like face overwhelming odds? Just run in wearing nothing but spandex and a dude has multiple chainsaws. That's not fair. Aren't you mad? You're like, fuck it. I'm gonna bet. What if I made rent this month because I bet $25 that Sub-Zero would choke a dude's head off? Yeah. With a razor blade hockey stick. What if I,
and it even brought the bloodthirst out of that grandma lady.
Oh my God,
because
I love her
she
so
just
much.
she just wanted
She's
to
the best character in the whole movie.
Oh yeah, totally. She wanted to jump on a winning horse.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
Richards is a runner. You gotta pick a stalker.
I can pick anyone I choose. And I choose Ben Richards. That boy's one mean motherfucker.
Yeah, like she mentally forgot that he supposedly killed an entire population of children because he was the safest bet to spill more blood.
And here's the thing. Those people probably didn't give a fuck whether he did it or not.
Oh, no. Yeah, of course not. Because they've watched their stalkers kill countless people, and that's why they're there. Going back to Lindsay's point about the different crowds, it is such a great commentary on that, because it basically shows you every type of viewer. It showed the elite, it showed the poor, it showed that, like, coming from Vegas, I used to live in Vegas, the betting community, people with like actual skin in the game and their reactions, and as the movie played, okay, cool, it showed but as the movie played, it showed what people would accept still, and what was okay and digestible, and what, am I still rooting for this? Am I still rooting for this entire establishment? Am I still rooting for these serial killers? What is it? Because how does it affect me as a person?
Also, the fact that everybody in the future is skinny.
Except Dynamo.
And Professor Sub-Zero. Yeah.
And Buzzsaw. Shit.
That's all the stock. You know what? That might not be an accident.
Exactly.
Oh, no, it's not.
Because everyone's fucking broke. There's a food short. The world economy has collapsed.
Right.
And only by becoming an authoritarian state did the U.S. kind of keep their shit a little bit together.
You too.
So everyone's
like
starving.
Richard Dawson. Yeah.
Because you could even make comparisons back to ancient Rome and gladiators, and the way these star gladiators were treated. They were just showered with gifts and women and food and wine, and they were fucking rock stars.
If there's no bread,
sumo.
let them eat circus. Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. They have double the circus and half the bread, and that whole empire collapsed too. So,
Very true.
You both know how much or how precious Stephen King is with his adaptations. He hated The Shining because it was not.
He's not precious. He'll sell you the rights for $1, dude. He doesn't give a fuck.
But they made a movie.
He
wants to see it.
They made a movie out of what, the Golden Years, which was not even a book he wrote. It was a script he wrote.
Right. But he does pay attention though to the final product, and he will be the first one on the message board on Reddit to be like, "Fuck this," The Shining.
Did he really say "fuck this" about The Shining, or did he say, "I don't think Mr. Kubrick read the book"?
He just said it wasn't a faithful adaptation, which it wasn't. It was Kubrick's vision for that story.
But also, how many copies of the book sold
because of that movie?
They took it like probably a 30-minute interview. He's like, well, I'm glad he made the movie, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, it wasn't the most faithful adaptation, but it made a lot of money and got a lot of popularity. He's like, oh, wow, Stephen King says it's not a faithful adaptation. Who's at 7? Because that's what you do. You interview someone for a half hour and you use a 5-second soundbite.
But I mean, a majority of Stephen King's adaptations you need to change because they're fucking bonkers. Most of
there's no ending.
And they're 800 pages.
There's no ending. Yeah. How does anyone know how
Stephen King doesn't start out writing books knowing how it's going to end, and sometimes he has to write 800 pages before he figures out how it ends. That's a bonkers way to write a book, but also that's how I write every article I've ever written. So I've never written an 800-page article, but I'm not a fucking multimillionaire. So.
And he's still able to write 6 books a year. Does anyone actually know how he felt about The Running Man, the movie?
Richard Bachman was interviewed, and he's like, it's no regulators.
He's like, but Tommy Knockers was a great. The Langoliers was a fucking banger.
Hey. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and let you talk shit about the Langoliers.
Oh my God. What?
Bronson Pinchot. Stay away from Mr. Toomey. Yeah. Fuck, I love the get out of here.
I'll take it.
I love the Gary Sinise 1989 The Stand.
Oh my God, yes.
I love the Langoliers.
You love Dreamcatcher because it was a shit monster.
I never saw Dreamcatcher, but I did read the book.
The
movie I like because of the characters. I liked the characters that they put forth. It's a weird fucking movie, but I like the characters.
Well, it was like a 900-page book, and they're like, we can probably squeeze this into 90 minutes.
Well, they bring in aliens, and then it goes back to stuff with dairy and why stuff always happens in dairy. There's so many connections, and it's just fucking nuts.
Why would you live in Derry?
Fuck that place.
700 people live in Derry, and they just put up with so much shit.
It's the same people that live in Woodsboro.
It's
right?
Listen, I know aliens landed in your cornfield. Take your ass down to Needful Things. Tell him you need an alien killing machine.
Go down to
He'll sell your soul to him. He'll give you a machine that won't work, but the vampires will show up at the last second and save you, unless the fucking sewer monster that dressed like a clown kills the monster first. It's fine. Everything
just go bury
sucks
it in the
Derry,
pet
but all the
cemetery.
problems take care of each other.
Yeah.
There are so many monsters in Derry that they're too busy fighting each other to kill anybody.
Take a right on Dandello and go straight on till morning.
So much humor sprinkled through this movie, just stuff that especially kids today would not get. References like Mick Fleetwood saying Spock, Mr. Spock, you have the comm.
Right.
Mr. Spock, things like that.
Spock, yeah.
Also, people knowing who Mick Fleetwood is.
Yeah, and Dweezil Zappa.
I love how Dweezil Zappa was named because the hospital wouldn't let him name an unintelligible string of... He wanted to name him something crazy, and they're like, you have to give him a name like Jim or John or Frank. You're like, yeah, that's his name. His name is Jim John Frank Zappa. And he's like, Dad, I think Jim John Frank's a weird name. Can you just call me Dweezil? No, yeah, all right.
Because there's this whole plot with, he's on the Running Man and he needs to survive. But then the secondary plot is they need to shut down the satellite, the network.
You need to do an escape from New York, yeah.
Yes.
Or they live.
They live,
yeah. They live.
Yeah.
Yes. They
gotta do a Carpenter before they can finish doing a Verhoeven and wrap up with a Cronenberg.
Yeah.
We figured it out.
As much as this movie influenced everything, it was influenced by everything.
It was influenced by everything. And it's just so crazy how so many different genres and just so much shit in this movie comes together, and it works so well for just how outlandish and crazy the plot is.
Here's a question though. It works very well for us, and for my sister's generation, which is like one above ours. Does it work for any generation that's younger than us, though?
I think it would if they glom onto the media controlled shit and you know all that kind of stuff. I think that angle they would be more interested than the cool fight scenes and the stalkers and all that kind of shit. I think
you think Hunger Games, right? Like they're still doing this shit.
This is a time capsule.
Oh,
because
definitely.
it had the 1980s aesthetic, but it also kind of had the. You don't make adult movies with the dystopian shit anymore. It's all YA shit.
Yeah.
All the dystopian stuff is for young adults because it's like, look, you need to get a STEM degree and you need to figure out how to turn atmospheric carbon into like gasoline.
We need you to code, all right?
Yeah, exactly. You need to get a master's degree in chemistry. So like, it's almost like here's the 80s aesthetic and here's the 80s like peak kill a guy and make a pun about how you killed him type of shit.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, oh, people have been doing really scathing satire of American culture this whole time.
Yeah.
For 50 years, people have been just nailing it. And this is a very good example of a movie that's not subtle, but is entertaining.
Oh yeah, and it's effective with how blunt it is.
It's not subtle, but it is subtle in the fact that it's delivering it in a consumable package, where a movie today would be way too cynical to where it would turn off half the audience right away.
Would it be cynical, or would they do the RoboCop reboot where they did the only thing
or just water it down? Yeah.
The only thing they kept was the fact that it was a cop who's a robot.
Yeah.
Sure.
So was the new RoboCop more cynical than the 80s one? Of course not.
No. And because this movie takes itself seriously. You know, it's not winking at the audience at all. It's not in on the joke. It takes everything. Everyone is fully 100 committed to their role, to their part in this world that has been built. You know, it's not winking and nodding. The only time it really does that overtly is when Arnie says, "I'll be back," which I think is the only time where the veneer is broken. Because it's referencing himself in his other movies that he's done. So I think that's where there's the little crack in the veneer.
I'll be back.
Otherwise, everything is done with sincerity.
Well, there are more Arnold references than that. He gets hit in the face with a rifle butt twice, 2 different movies. You know, there's a bunch of things that
in the same year, right? Predator and
Predator, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe this came out the same year as Predator.
Yeah.
Because Predator just, I don't know. It seemed more polished, but this had I think it's had a bigger budget. Predator, they're just traipsing around outdoors.
Yeah.
They shot it at like North Carolina. They're like, yeah, just go run around into woods and then we'll add a guy in post for you to fight.
We'll
just look at the tennis ball on the stick and pretend it's a Shimmer Man from the future.
Oh my god, that fucking production was just fraught with just tragedy after tragedy.
Accidents.
Yeah.
Well, just having Van Damme as the original monster.
Oh, and replacing him with Mario Van Peebles?
Well, then the whole redesign of the monster and getting Stan Winston involved, and James Cameron had a little part in it. And they had to spray paint some of the jungle green because this part of Mexico was brown. But John McTiernan had a beach house there, so he wanted to shoot there. There's just so much. Yeah. There's so much bullshit that happened with that movie. Holy!
Can you imagine if John Landis directed it? Then
Can you imagine this being an easier shoot? Yeah, Jonathan Landis. Like when you see the helicopter up in the trees, like, oh yeah, that was from an earlier shoot.
Get away from the chopper! Get away from the chopper!
Get away! Get not to the chopper! Chop 3 people on a Jonathan Landis movie. Yikes!
No one's
Holy
safe.
Fuck!
R.I.P. Vic. Jesus, I made myself sad with that one. It's not even funny. It's just an irresponsible thing he did.
Very irresponsible.
And then his kid got to grow up in Hollywood and grope people. Cut all that. Jesus Christ.
I'm not cutting any. You tell me to cut.
I tell you to cut shit. You leave in the episode me saying cut that. You motherfucker.
Anytime that either of you tell me to cut it, I put it at the beginning of the episode.
Don't. Referencing a tragedy and then another tragedy by the guy's son. Stop the cycle.
I can't. I'm just a historian.
If Max Landis weren't so creepy, maybe he would have a kid, and that kid would grow up to make movies, and he would do another atrocity. Can we not? Can we stop the Landis cycle?
In 2022, who do you recommend this movie for, Jason?
Okay. If you like action movies sincerely, I think you will find aspects of this movie to your liking. This has Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse Ventura and Sven-Ole Thorsen. It's got chainsaws and razor blade hockey sticks and helicopter gunships. This movie has action. A dude's head explodes from the neck up. If you like action movies, ironically, this movie is making fun of people who like action movies sincerely, but also it kind of is a sincere action movie. If you like Paul Verhoeven, you'll like this movie. If you hate Paul Verhoeven, good news, he didn't direct this. This movie does not take itself that seriously. It's very fun. People who do a job like football player or rock star get to just be a weirdo in this universe. They build a whole world that's dystopian, and it's barely worse than things are in 2022. Yeah. So if you do not like cartoonish violence at all on an ironic or serious level, if you don't like savage political satire, if you don't like a movie that had 5 different directors, if you don't like Richard Dawson for some reason, he's dead. He can't hurt you anymore. You can't kiss your mother on the mouth. What? You used to kiss old women on the mouth.
Oh my God.
Also, apparently, people who worked with Richard Dawson saw his character in this movie and they're like, yeah, that's right.
Him. That's him.
He's the Ellen DeGeneres of the 1980s. So if you have a story about how your like uncle was a page and Richard Dawson like fired him for not mopping great or some shit like that, maybe you won't like this movie. But the people who do like this movie will like the fact that the violence is cartoonish. It's peak Arnold. He does 25 Arnold movies worth of one-liners in one movie.
Yeah.
It's dumb, you know, but the special effects for being like 40 years old or whatever, not too bad.
Not too bad.
So 35 years ago this movie came out? Yeah. There's a lot of practical effects. It's, if you know who any of the people are in this movie, you'll be impressed. Look, maybe my own bias is showing here, but I can't think of like anybody who's not turned off by violence who wouldn't like this movie, because honestly, this movie's making the best case possible against the kind of violence that's frankly on our televisions now, because they couldn't have conceived of the MMA in 1997.
No.
Right.
Or the XFL.
They didn't think that was possible, but they thought the Running Man might just be.
But the Running Man was a joke.
Yeah.
And then like we for seriously have like every Japanese game show where a guy thinks he's using a toilet. It's like, aha, you're actually on a ski slope. So
I'm pretty biased too, because I fucking love this movie. I've seen it probably 1,000 times. It was on TV all the time as a kid. We watched it on HBO. It was just always on. And I loved the violence and the characters and the analog technology that they had, and it just fits so well within the world that they built that it makes sense. It doesn't seem dated to me because it fits within this world that they built.
Even though we're past 2017, we didn't do any of that.
Yeah, we didn't do any of that. But it just works so well. I love it. I watch it at least a few times a year. It's so much fun to just put on and have a fucking ball watching it. Okay. And I think when you think about Arnold films, this one doesn't always come to your mind? You know, you think of Terminator, you think of Terminator 2, you think of Predator, Commando, things like that. I think
this is Running Man first.
Yeah, this is, you know, things like Running Man. Total Recall 2 is another one that doesn't always come to the forefront, which is
that was another book
fucking
that was
great movie.
Nothing at all like the movie that got made.
Verhoeven.
No, not at all. We can remember it for you wholesale, I think was the name of the book, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, like I said before, kids today would read between the lines pretty easily in this film, because like we said, it's not subtle, so it's easy to pick up on those greater social themes that it's putting forward. And especially with the past 5-6 years that we've had, I think it's even more relevant now than it was in 1987 with some of the things that it's speaking to, whether it's doing
nothing.
We learned nothing. And whether it's doing that on purpose or not, or even just by fucking happy accident that they stumbled into these, I think it's a movie that needs to be watched by more people, studied by more people, talked about by more people, because it celebrates and vilifies things simultaneously.
Yeah.
And that's
in the right way.
In the right way. And that's not easy to do.
It presents American culture taken to its natural conclusion.
Yes.
And says maybe we don't have to do this 30 years in the future. And we kind of haven't. 2017 wasn't exactly like The Running Man. It was bad. Donald Trump was president, but we didn't do a literal Running Man, and I will take that as a win.
That is a win.
The difference between The Running Man and nowadays is that The Running Man learned its lesson within the runtime of the film. It figured itself out. We haven't. That's a problem.
We just had to have a person not get murdered in the murder maze and make it all the way through and be like, turns out there's more to life than just actual murder mazes.
Tone, congruity, a message, all that. This breaks all of the it commits all of the cinema sins because it feels so slapdash, and it feels like 4 different movies and 4 different styles and 4 different tones, and it comes together in a perfect way, maybe accidentally. I don't know how they pulled this off, but they fucking did. And it's
5 directors, how did they pull it off?
Just everybody worked on The Running Man. It's just like this somehow works so well. And it is something that has a very strong 80s lens. So, you know, I know it's cool now to go the 90s route. Like, we're done with the Stranger Things. Now we're on like the Yellow Jackets. You know, now 90s are cool. But just go back a little bit. Don't leave the 80s yet, because the aesthetic is just perfect. It encapsulates that perfectly. But it also has the message that is just so relevant and just so unfortunately present. This holds up as well as They Live. You could actually make a really fucked up anti-American double feature night.
That would be a good double feature.
Jesus Christ. It's very nihilistic. This one's a little bit more hopeful at the ending, though.
Then They Live, maybe.
Yeah, there's no one I wouldn't recommend this to, honestly.
Wow.
And I'm not just
I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I'm not gonna recommend this to her.
Hey, they're wearing
she's at least 9.
That guy's wearing Christmas lights.
You don't see a single ball in this movie, so like it's fine. There's no. You can show a kid a decapitation, but I'll be damned if I let him see a tit.
We are in America. Dynamo Jason, where can everyone find you?
It's so sad that guy died like the same year, like 6 months after this film was released.
I mean, are you surprised?
I am. He was taking about as good care of himself as I am.
Maria Conchita Alonso is just like, I'm not too sad, because he literally like sat on my face while wearing a sweaty diaper. So
Jesus Christ, dude.
Man with a light bulb up his ass.
Lindsay, hey.
What's up?
Thanks. We're gonna find you.
You can find me on Twitter at the Lindsay Washburn. That's Lindsay with an A, not an E. And you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is just my name. Again, Lindsay Washburn, where I talk about movies, good movies, bad movies, just okay movies, and movies on VHS.
That's
your
Lindsay.
name is spelled like Lindsay Buckingham, who was in Fleetwood Mac with Mick Fleetwood,
Mick
who was in this movie.
Oh my God!
Lindsay telling us she's drunk without telling us she's drunk is her making sure that we know how her name is spelled.
Yes.
You can follow this very show on Twitter at The Cult Films. You can follow me personally at Jon the Host. You can follow us on the podcasting sites like iTunes. Leave us ratings. Leave us ratings, because that is what matters, not human lives. It's all about the ratings. We'll see you next time.
We're up 9 points.